What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Wrestling City, and today we're going to be reacting to another video from What Culture Wrestling. It's actually been quite some time since we've reacted to one of their videos, but this one is titled 10 WWE Wrestlers Who Won Matches They Weren't Booked In. So, as we know, that is kind of the formula for a disaster finish. I mean, we had some, like, I'm assuming Brock Lesnar winning the Money in the Bank in 2019 will be on here, and Shane McMahon, the best in the world situation. Those two I see being on there, but the other ones, I'm not 100% sure. Let's go ahead and check it out right now.
So in many ways, the title of this video could be reworked just to talk about World Championship Wrestling. If you've never seen WCW in the year 2000, nearly everybody won a match they weren't officially in. And now because they are dead, well, it's really funny. It does happen across all of pro wrestling, though, so I, Simon the Bald Idiot, thought we should share in some of these stories. So pull up a pew and grab a coffee. Let's go. Number 10, James Ellsworth at the 2017 Money in the Bank. So this one is really dumb. It's one of those scenarios where WWE either did it to wind up their audience, or, you know, they're just a bit stupid. It was 2017, though, and to carry on their women's revolution, we finally decided to do a women's Money in the Bank match. And yeah, if we were doing one for males, why wouldn't you do one for the females? Shrug emoji. We had a star-studded field as well because it was Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Natalya, Tamina, and Carmella who were going to fight for this briefcase. And they went out there and they kicked each other's ass.
It was a good match.
They were all down at the end of this thing when James Ellsworth, who was managing Carmella, climbed that ladder rung by Dan.
They really had a women's, first ever women's Money in the Bank. Who's going to be the first women's Money in the Bank holder? And they make it James Ellsworth. I can understand the logic why they decided to do that, but come on now. For a few years, the Money in the Bank was just in shambles, it feels like.
Rung, he grabbed the briefcase and he threw it to his client, and apparently this was perfectly in the rules, and Carmella was now Miss Money.
They did a rematch on SmackDown
Carmella because she was somebody that needed a push and needed some extra star power. But of course there was massive backlash to this because it was a bit like, well, of course the man had to climb up the damn ladder and get the thing. Let's not pretend that WWE didn't hear this noise because they cancelled the whole thing.
Yep.
And then they redid the match on Raw. Maybe it was SmackDown. The point was this time Carmella got the inanimate object and we never talked about it again. And that's because it was a silly decision, my friends. At least we rectified it. Benign Hornswoggle at the 2007.
Oh, jeez.
So it's pretty bad that we can go back more than a decade and be finding things like this. And it all comes down to how Vince McMahon used to use Hornswoggle. There's nothing against old Swogs. He had no choice. But for some reason, if Vince McMahon found himself in a position story-wise that he just wanted to get out of, well, he pulled Hornswoggle out of the ground and said, you go sort it. One of these was when he became the Cruiserweight Champion at the Great American Bash. And yes, you'll be surprised to hear, even though we were having a multi-man match, Hornswoggle wasn't in it.
I didn't know he wasn't supposed to be in it.
Funaki, Shannon Moore, and Jimmy Wang Yang. And before the bell rang, Hornswoggle just appeared, he slid in the ring, somebody just went, oh yeah man, he is in it, when he went back and he hid beneath the ring for the entire match, when Jamie Noble, who was the champion, took a superplex, when Horns reappeared, he hit the tadpole splash, and he got the 1, 2, 3.
Terrible. I mean, we all know that this whole situation, I mean, first of all, with these, you can book a little person, you know, you can, they have whole promotions for just the smaller wrestlers like Hornswoggle, but the way he was booked, it was always just a joke to Vince, you know? So whenever Hornswoggle was on TV, you knew that something was, he was about to book some bullshit, and this is one of the prime examples of it. I mean, his name when he first started was Little Bastard. It wasn't even Hornswoggle yet, so he always just had that in as that joke, you know, and he's probably backstage like, oh, that's such good shit, pal. It doesn't surprise me.
He was a champ. I don't want to be that guy either, but do you know what would have been better than this? I mean, the answer is anything, but also just literally anything in the match. He knew how to work, and even though you were going to get some fans that'd be like, oh man, it's just not believable, that's what the creative team is for. Surely this would have been super duper fun. But no, we did it this way instead. Number 8, The Undertaker at Super Showdown 2020. So I don't want to be that guy, but Super Showdown 2020 is not very good. Like if you were going to describe it to somebody who was about to watch it and you didn't want them to, you'd be like, do you have a bunch of favorite wrestlers and would you rather not see them get absolutely destroyed? And if their answer was yes, you'd be like, all right, don't watch Super Showdown. That's all it is. It was also the night where The Fiend lost his Universal Championship to Goldberg. But before all of that, WWE had created some weird tournament for a trophy that someone was going to win, and then we would never talk about it again.
Wow.
It was worthless. Now, actually, it was a massive ruse because, yes, somebody not even in the damn thing was going to win. So when Rey Mysterio was getting ready to go out there and try and become victorious, he got beaten up by Gallows and Anderson. As we teased, it means AJ Styles is going to win by default when the lights went out and The Undertaker was here. And in around about 8 milliseconds, he whooped AJ, pinned him, and now he was the champion of something. Or nothing, I don't know. Now, at least it tied into the awesome Boneyard match we get a couple of months later. But how was this allowed? Like, was there a running sheet that said, if Rey Mysterio gets injured, The Undertaker is allowed to compete? And also, what if The Undertaker hadn't gone to Saudi Arabia? What were you gonna do? Now, I am being facetious, of course, and we did this so that it would be a surprise. But in terms of suspending your disbelief, well, you can chuck that one out the window.
I totally forgot about this. I mean, I guess this was technically before the pandemic. I mean, I think it was like a month before it started. But anything in 2020 all just blends together in my head. Really, all I remember like Bailey and Sasha Banks were doing pretty good. We had Seth Rollins like against Mysterio in the Eye for an Eye match, and of course what we just saw, the Fiend and Goldberg. But this, I mean, I remember it now that I think about it, but it's truly some terrible times in terms of booking.
No, number 7, Crash Holly at the 2000 Royal Rumble. Now, I always like it when we can talk about Crash Holly because he does not get the praise that he deserves, because he took that hardcore title that had 24/7 rules and he just made it his own, and often he was the most entertaining guy on the show.
Crash Holly was great with the hardcore title.
It was actually Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe who were feuding over that championship, because why wouldn't it be? This is all very true. When Gerald found Pat hiding in the locker room dressed as a woman in order to hide away from getting his ass kicked, Vince McMahon decided, well, now you've got to both compete in an evening ball gown match. Deal with that information.
Man.
I don't know who it was for. Anyway, the less said about that, the
Vince.
better. But Crash Holly did save the day, because even though this was an official match for the hardcore title, it turned out that the 24/7 rule was still in effect, so he walked out. He got the win, and he ran off with the championship, which helped us for 2 reasons. 1, everybody always wanted the Crash to have this title. But 2, it also meant we didn't have to see either Pat Patterson or Gerald Briscoe naked. So this really is a positive of the title of this video and how you can be creative with it. See, I told you it can be done. You just got to have some fun. Number 6, Shane McMahon at Crown Jewel 2018.
I knew it.
This really is one of my favorite moments ever for all the wrong reasons. Because when this was going down, I obviously was hanging out on social media. And when Shane McMahon...
I mean, look at this. So, going back a few seconds, look at this, you know, tournament bracket. You had Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Kurt, Dolph Ziggler, Jeff Hardy, The Miz, Rey Mysterio, and Randy Orton. And out of all of these, you had Shane McMahon get the win. I mean, it's almost like they were trying to do the absolute worst booking decisions possible during these during this year. 2019, well, this was 2018, but 2018, 2019, both were just
because when this was going down, I obviously was hanging out on social media, and when Shane McMahon appeared from nowhere to win a tournament that was dubbed the best in the world, the Meltdown was so funny, I had an epiphany where I was like, wait a minute, is this good wrestling TV? Because ultimately, I am having a lot of fun. Now, this show, of course, was controversial for many reasons, but on a lesser level, or a wrestling television level, everybody was a bit confused by this weird World Cup tournament we were doing. Because 1, we barely had any major stars with it, and also 2, where did it come from? Where did it go? Where did it come from? Cotton Eye Joe. It also begged the question what the winner of this was going to do. What, you're going to walk into a bar with a trophy that says, I am the best in the world, and said, see, I told you, they're just going to think it was made by your mother. Anyway, the final was meant to be Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz, where once again The Miz got attacked backstage, so he wasn't going to be able to compete. And obviously, in any other tournament across the world, you would have found a runner-up and said, listen, we need you to take on Dolph. But instead, Shane McMahon's music hit. He beat Dolph Ziggler in around about 2 minutes, and he celebrated like
2
he was
minutes?
legitimately the best in the world. I love it, man. I know it was terrible, and I know it shouldn't have happened, but it made me laugh out loud. And I guess WWE did use this for a long old
That's
time.
all you could do
Snoop
is
Dogg at
laugh.
WrestleMania 39. It kind of ties into here, because given what had happened between Shane McMahon and The Miz,
Yeah.
they sort of went on an elongated feud to the point at WrestleMania 39, when host The Miz and friend Snoop Dogg were in the ring, Shane McMahon made another surprise return, as Snoop told us, by the way, you two are going to have a match. Now, yes, it
About
didn't go well
that.
at all, because when Shane McMahon went for a leapfrog,
Yeah.
he pulled his quad, and that is not something you can carry on from. But word then got to Snoop Dogg that said, listen, somebody needs to take on The Miz. So Snoop was like, I'll do it. He proceeded to do the best, worst offense you've ever seen in your life, including a people's elbow, and he defeated The Miz. This goes back to my earlier argument. As long as I'm entertained, I think I'm having a good time.
See, so I understand, why people don't like this, and it was goofy, but at the same time, this was something you couldn't have. I mean, Shane tore his, I think, what did they say, his quad doing that leapfrog, just almost like, I think that was like the second move in the match or something like that. So he was out. So I think this was a funny way to improvise, and that rock bottom just mwah, absolute perfection, comedy perfection.
Fair play to The Miz as well, who dealt with this wonderfully. And some people like to laugh at Shane McMahon here, but I don't. Do you know how much that injury sucks? I just hope he got over it.
Yeah, that must have hurt.
Still, though, ultimately, Snoop Dogg versus The Miz was never written down on a piece of paper, but they pulled it off. So I'm going to put some respect on Snoop's name. Man knows what he's doing. And before
That's
Steve
fair.
Austin at the Judgment Day in 1998. So at Breakdown in Your House, Vince McMahon said, listen, it's going to be brand new WWF champion taking on The Undertaker and taking on Kane. And I promise you, Steve, by hook or by crook, you are not going to leave with that title. And of course, tied into the Austin McMahon feud, which was one of the best of all time. And when The Undertaker and Kane both pinned him, well, Vince McMahon stole the championship and quite literally ran off. And he was flipping off Steve Austin the whole time. That's pretty good TV. It eventually meant we got to Judgment Day, where it was going to be The Undertaker versus Kane for that still title. And Vince told Steve, listen, you are going to be the special guest referee, and if we don't get a winner here, you're fired. Well, you can imagine what the Rattlesnake did. He just beat everybody up.
Yeah.
And when Kane and Taker were on the floor, he counted the three, and was like, right, I've decided I win. When Vince McMahon followed up on his threat, and he quite literally fired it. Now I get that all sounds awful. You're like, Simon, what are you talking about? But the execution was so great.
Yeah.
Steve Austin still won a match technically, though it's probably not in the record books. Also, Vince McMahon expunged.
I guess this is proving that it all just comes down to execution, because on paper, I don't remember this match. That sounds terrible. But, I mean, with Stone Cold, it obviously worked. The fans were behind it, so it really just matters how it's executed.
That he was never in to begin with. And it was 2 + 2 = potato, but that was the magic of Steve Austin, man. He just made anything work.
Yep.
Number 3, Brock Lesnar at the 2019 Money in the Bank. So Mustafa Ali talked about this on the Chris Van Vliet show recently, and he did. He gave you the story. Just as he was about to go out to win the Money in the Bank, Vince McMahon took him to one side and said, listen, pal, that ain't happening. And as soon as you touch the briefcase, 1, do not unhook it, but also 2, someone is gonna run down. Just let them murder you.
Oh,
The awful
poor
part is Ali then
Ali.
had to go to the ring, but he wasn't able to tell his other competitors, meaning when this mystery person did turn up, they were totally shocked too. It was a who's who as well, because it was Andrade, it was Drew McIntyre, it was Finn Balor, it was Randy Orton, it was Ricochet, and they had to react to Brock Lesnar spoilers music as the fans did, because yes, he just ran out at the very end of the match. He absolutely did kill Mustafa Ali when he became Mr. Money in the Bank. Now, the justification here is that Sami Zayn was also meant to be a contender, but he got taken out too with a fake wrestling injury. But you can just go back and read message boards from this time. People were so damn mad, because even though Brock Lesnar with his boombox briefcase was funny,
Yes.
nobody wanted him to win it before this. Even more so because we hadn't seen him in months. It also killed Ali's momentum, who was about to hit something. Man, this was just bad, man. Shouldn't have done it. Number 2,
I
Edge
agree.
Survivor Series 2008. So genuinely, at the 2008 Survivor Series, the WWE wanted to run with Vladimir Kozlov versus Triple H versus Jeff Hardy.
He was
Now, we
supposed to
can't
win
actually
at
laugh
one
about
point, I
this,
thought.
because Jeff Hardy got taken out of the match when WWE.com, the official website, ran a story saying he'd been found unconscious in a stairwell. Now, one, this was not true. It was completely fabricated for a storyline. And two, this was after Jeff Hardy had gone through some very real personal issues. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. That meant instead we got a one-on-one between Vladimir and Triple H, which nobody wanted. When halfway through, Vicky Guerrero just walked out and said, "Do you know who we haven't seen in a long time? Edge." Well, guess who's in this match now? It was Edge. And can you believe it? This Mother Hubbard won. It meant he was now the WWE champion, and Jeff Hardy did turn up where he accidentally helped Adam Copeland get this victory. But that just irked the fans even more because they were like, wait a minute, Jeff is right there. Why isn't he in the match? And while we all love the fact we did have a surprise champion because people were behind Edge, even as a heel, that's just all over the place. And it was 2 + 2 = potato. Once again, people are paid money for these things. Don't mug them off.
I can understand why they did it because, you know, at the time, Vicky Guerrero was like the power hungry, you know, the controlling GM of SmackDown. So she's just, you know, I can do whatever I want. She's dating Edge, you know, in storyline at the time. So I can understand why they did it. But yeah, at that time, I mean, this is right when I started watching wrestling. I started watching it No Mercy 2008, so literally the pay-per-view before this. But I probably would have been confused too if I was an older, more experienced, you know, wrestling fan.
Number 1, Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 31. So if you do break it right down, this is probably the best Money in the Bank cash-in ever, especially because it happened in the main event of WrestleMania 31. There's so much to this as well, because of course the original match was Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the super duper whooper WWE
Nobody
title.
wanted to see it.
But on the build, the Raw before, they had done a tug of war over the title. A lot of people were like, are they 12-year-olds? That's all we could come up with. It sucks. Then all of a sudden we got to the Sunday night and they absolutely kicked the crap out of each other. And you can go back and watch this match now. It's pretty damn good. And one of the elbows to the face that Roman Reigns takes, I don't understand how his nose didn't explode. We all kind of assumed that Roman was going to win as well, but there was a bugbear to that, because this was when we were trying to push the big dog, but the fans weren't going for it, which is why on the same day, somebody came up with the idea, well, why don't we have Seth Rollins cash in his Money in the Bank? It was super duper interesting because it turned it into a 3-way, so that was a brand new rule, and after he had stopped Mr. Roman Reigns, he got the 1, 2, 3, he was the champion, he had pulled off the heist of the century, and again, this was the main event of WrestleMania, and he wasn't even on the poster. Well, no, that's not true. He was, because he had a match with Randy Orton later on in the evening that he'd also lost. This was brilliant. This was superb, and it's the complete 180 to some of the entries on this list. That is how you use a gimmick and how you get somebody into a match that wasn't even there to begin with. Now, I'm sure there's other options as well that I haven't thought about, so please do drop me a comment below before you like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Look, there's another...
Okay, yeah, so that was another banger video from What Culture Wrestling. I will put the link to the original video in the description, so if you want to check it out, go ahead and do that. Number 1, yeah, I think Seth Rollins, his first cash-in, probably is the best cash-in of all time. I don't want to act like, so at this time, WrestleMania 31 was really when I was starting to get into the wrestling community, you know, I was on Instagram, and at the time, I don't want to say that it was completely unpredictable because I did see a lot of people saying it, but it was just like it was this year at SummerSlam with Rollins cashing in, you know, for his second briefcase. A lot of people predicted it, but everybody was like, is this actually going to happen? It felt more like a fever dream or somebody's fantasy booking rather than what's actually gonna happen. So when that happened, it was amazing. Great way to turn around the momentum that was lost, I guess, with nobody wanting to see Brock and you know, Roman going into it, and everybody was excited after. Dude, that cash-in picture with him holding up the title with the background, you know, all the pyro going off, that was everybody's Instagram profile picture for a solid few months after that occurred. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, comment below what you think was the worst one out of this entire list, and don't forget to subscribe to the greatest city in the world, Wrestling City. But that's about it. I will see y'all next time. Peace.